So my name is Ken, and I started out on Fortnite playing on controller on Xbox, and eventually I moved to PS4. All that stuff ended on chapter 1 of season 4. Then I started making tons of tips and tricks on keyboard, not only for the people, but I also wanted to get good. So I played on a normal mouse and keyboard for a very long time. I did it for around 3 years, give or take. Then I heard about this thing called the GMK Joystick. It's essentially an analog stick that you stick underneath your keyboard, and you have controller movement with extremely optimal bind. If you know me, chances are you already know that I play on this thing. It cost $50 at the time I bought it, shipped to my house. FYI, because I know I'm gonna get asked, my settings are gonna be at the end of the video because that's the most boring part and probably the part where most people are not gonna want to watch. At the end of November in 2021, that's when I officially decided that I was gonna switch my normal keyboard and mouse binds and move over to the analog stick. Keep in mind, in my eyes, compared to most players, I was already way above them in terms of skill. So it definitely took a lot out of me to switch to that thing, knowing that I was gonna be really bad, but I had experience doing it before. The switch for me was easier because I switched from controller to controller with paddles, controller with just claw, switched crucial binds on my keyboard and mouse, like my edit button in particular, and other small things. By the time I got to the joystick, I knew that if I took aside a month during the off season, I definitely could make it work. So that's exactly what I did. I ordered it midway through November, and at the end of November, it took around 2 weeks. It came in through the mail, and we got to work. I already did a 1-month progression video. I didn't do a 3-month progression video, and I didn't do a 6-month. I waited for that exact moment because I knew that the 1-month to 3-month time period probably isn't going to be that crazy. But the 1 to 6-month period, this is where you are visually going to see massive amounts of improvement in my aim, crosshair placement, my builds, just general IQ. At the start of my 1-month progression video, I said in that video that I was not better than I originally was on my old keyboard bind. Fast forward another 5 months onto that, I'm definitely better than I was on keyboard and mouse before the switch. What you're seeing right now, this is the first ever box fight I had. I had no idea what buttons were what. I definitely needed more practice in remembering my bind, so I should have been playing more creative doing this, but I did it for the content. This time in the game, there was a thing called late game arena where you drop from the sky with a loadout and there's around 50 people. It's a really good way to key practice late game, and this is where most of these clips in the beginning of the GMK joystick grind started. This clip right here is the first build fight that I ever had on these binds. I had some practice building in creative, but when it came to fighting people, this was how it went. Pay very close attention because in these clips in the first couple days, you're gonna see how bad the movement was compared to the full potential of me using it 6 months later. It's super important to pay attention to these close clips. I just want to reiterate that. You can see here in this clip, I'm full piecing people. I barely knew how to control the analog stick. I barely knew my AR binds, my shotgun binds, my pickaxe. All this stuff was so foreign to me, and trust me when I tell you, the first 1 to 5 days wasn't that bad. I was seeing tons of improvement. By the time we got to the 2 to 3 week mark, it was a huge hump to get over. I never felt more of an urge to switch back to my old keyboard and mouse binds at this time. And guess what? That's exactly what I did. I decided to go back to my original keyboard and mouse binds and forget the joystick altogether. This is when I realized at this specific time period that there was no returning. I switched back to the bind. I started playing creative for like 2 hours, 3 hours. It was the worst experience of my life. All my build binds, everything felt clunky, weird, because I had so much experience practicing something new, and when I tried to go back, I remembered almost nothing. That's when my mental was so deep down in the trenches, I was actually starting to get anxiety because I thought my content was gonna die. I thought I was gonna be trash forever. I thought no one was gonna want to play with me. This is the moment when I slapped myself in the face and I told myself to wake up. I put back the GMK joystick underneath that keyboard, and we seriously got to work this time. 5 days a week minimum, while making a video every 3 days and streaming 3 times a week. I was practicing edit coursing, building specific raider maps, drills, different high ground retakes, almost every single night for at least 2 hours. I was extremely motivated to get good at this thing because this is what I want to do full time. So I sucked it up, put my head down, and got to work in creative. Started DMing my guy Martas, who had over a 1.5 year experience of playing on this thing before I did. He helped me figure out how to get the best double movement so it was actually a good strafe angle when I was going right and left. And then from there, we talked a little bit about binds. I asked him a few questions, and then around this time, this is where I got to the 1-month period. Now this is kind of where it gets interesting. So if you're listening up to this point, you followed the whole storyline. I started being super consistent with how I was editing, not only in Fortnite, but actually making videos on YouTube too, because the clips that I was getting in game was so foreign and so unique to me that the ideas in these tips and tricks videos did so well on YouTube, and it literally shows in the number of views. This is at the start of the 1-month period. This is when the old mobile builds were in the game back in chapter 3 season 1, and you might not be able to tell, but my movement here didn't feel too good. The builds that I was pressing were not that fluid yet, but nevertheless things were still looking pretty clean. I was starting to get really unique clips in game. Keep in mind, at the 1-month mark, this is the most important. Now I know this might not surprise some of you, and it's low-key a really boring thing to talk about all the time, so I'm gonna keep it brief. I didn't start Kovaxing till around the 4 to 5 month period. So most of the clips that you're watching right now, you're gonna be able to actually see not only in me just shooting kids with SMGs and aiming, my crosshair placement placement with building and piece controlling and editing is going to be way smoother. When I put all those clips together and organized them and looked at like the 1 to 3 month start, those were placing and all that, and it was super good looking, but it wasn't tight and neat. These are the clips I have at the 1 month mark from my last YouTube video of me edit coursing and creative. Now here's the same me again, but this time we're 1 month deep, pressing all the right binds at the exact same time, getting all the builds down exactly where I want them to be, and editing and moving in the exact spot I want. Definitely not the fastest in the world, but I pride myself on being really consistent. Moving over to real arena games in champs, here's 3 clips showing off my mechanics. So from the 1 to 4 month mark, things were looking up. Here's where things got really interesting. About a month, maybe a month and a half ago, I decided that I was going to get back in the comp. So I was going to play events, post them on my second channel. That way I could not only get better at the game, but make even more content at the same time I'm improving. That's when I had a serious talk with Jiven. Jiven is one of my friends who is really good at Kovacs. The specific maps that Jiven uses on Kovacs have leaderboard. In almost every single one that he has his playlist set to, he's really high up there. You might not think it, but it's actually really hard. His aim in game, not only with his actual aim and shooting, crosshair placement and piece control, all that's super tight, and it looks really good. At the beginning stage of him Kovacsing, he always tried telling me how much it helped, but I honestly just didn't care enough to actually do it yet. So I decided after a while to hop into it and just give it like a 1 week period of just doing it. The literal first week I started doing it, I noticed massive improvement. So now we're at the 6 month period. All these clips that you're seeing right now, these are some of my most recent clips that I have in creative, cash cups, sweaty arena fights, and you can see the full change in how I'm piece controlling people, how I'm doing protective high ground retakes. All the builds that I'm pressing now, especially at this 6 month mark, it's fully straight muscle memory. But it's not all fine and dandy. Even though I'm keying people beyond ways of which I thought was possible on my old binds, there's some things that still irk me a ton about this GMK joystick. The good news is, after 6 months, it's still never broken, never had problems with having to get a second one or anything being defective. Even when I first got it, I didn't experience any stick drift. Even though you're watching some of my best clips that I decided to put at this portion of the video, briefly, I'm going to tell you what I don't like about this. As I'm moving the analog stick in all which type of directions while playing Fortnite, it constantly moves and slides across my mouse pad. Probably the most stressful thing, but that's not a hard fix. What I do is when I play with it, I keep it in between my V and my B key. So literally in almost any direction I move it, it starts to slide a little bit to my left as I'm fighting, and I always find myself readjusting it literally mid-fight. I could probably get some sort of tape and just stick it right to my keyboard, but to me, it just seems a little unnecessary. One little tactic I do when I use this thing is I have this wrist pad. I kind of wedge it up against the joystick so it forces it to not move any further to the left. This is only possible because I tilt my keyboard just a little bit when I play the game. Probably the most annoying thing about this joystick. It's fine now, but when I first started, it was really hard to get over. Let's just use this as an example. If I want to go straight in Fortnite, I have to move my analog stick to the top right. And if I want to go to the right in Fortnite, it's more of a bottom right action with the joystick. Personally, I don't know why it was built like that. I'm sure there's a reason. Maybe they've done some tests that I'm not aware of and it came out that it was better to have it slanted. That's definitely something to be aware about. Nevertheless, at the 6 month mark, I can surely say that this thing has gotten me way better at Fortnite. Not only do I really like using it, I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to be really good. And one of the reasons that I really decided to play comp was because I'm the only player out of any player to use a GMK joystick to qual to a final. So if I can get some earnings really soon, I think it's going to really separate me in terms of content on YouTube. It's going to make me super unique. People are going to want to see gameplay of it, maybe some ASMR, who knows. Nevertheless, I can definitely say I'm super happy with where I'm at right now. And personally, I think my mechs are at a pro level. The only thing I don't think that's at a pro level, and this is the reason why you should never switch your input, is because switching your input is not going to make you qual, and I knew that going into it. I had other reasons that I mentioned in this video already why I did it, and it wasn't for the fact that if I switch to this, that it's going to make me start playing way better and it's going to make me start qualling in events. To get earnings on Fortnite, yeah, you definitely need really good mechs. I totally agree with that, but they only need to be up to a certain point in Fortnite. The things that I struggle the most at right now, just a little bit of confidence and making the right decisions in the moment. I don't have experience in finals games, so that's going to be tough to get. I haven't gotten to a cash cup and actually done consistently well week to week to week. So every time I play one, my hopes aren't as high as probably they should be, but at least I have a good mental for me. And usually every time I die, I never ever rage and freak out. That's why I got tons of faith in myself to eventually get to finals at one point. Here's my settings on the game right now. Nothing has changed since the last time I made this video, I don't think, but the only thing I did add was sprint. The sprinting feature on Fortnite, I decided to put it to spacebar. Right here is a picture, the same one from my last progression video of the anti-micro setting. Martos and I have tested it a little bit. There probably could be a better version, but I highly doubt it, of the best double movement setting. I had to throw this in real quick. I almost forgot. Whatever's set to A on your controller, that's what's going to be set to the button to the right of the joystick. I just want to mention real quick that I truly do think I have the most optimal binds on all of Fortnite. The only thing that can beat this, but I'm not even sure that it does, is that Azeron type keyboard where you stick your hand in it and you have all those buttons you press. I'll probably show a picture on screen right now. If I were to restart and do this whole thing over, picking an input, low-key, I think it would want to be controller, but I would pick the GMK joystick over the Azeron right now. Even though I did never try it, I might get some hate for that, but I definitely do not need the Azeron because this thing, the GMK joystick, it fits my workflow way better, and that's a huge plus for me because I'm always using my keyboard literally every single day. If for some reason I motivated you to buy a GMK joystick, when you're on the site and you're checking out, you can use code KenBeans. Drop a like if you enjoyed the story and hit the sub button if you want to see how I'm going to grow in the future. I might mess around and make a 1-year progression and see. Hopefully by then we'll have some earnings. It's been your man Ken, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.